Well, Faceman, what are you up to today? Well, we have our trusty old 2007 Tahoe here. And lately I have been getting the service four-wheel drive light on the dash. Typically this only happens when it's really cold outside. Summertime it seems to be fine, but when we start to get into winter, pardon the sniffles here. Start to get into winter, it gets cold, and then this alarm keeps popping up, and the transfer case is not happy. It tends to grind a little bit, howl a little bit when you're in auto or in four-wheel drive. Two-wheel drive is fine when it switches properly. So what I got down to on this thing, transfer case is absolutely fine. The motor, servo motor, works absolutely fine, switches in and out of gear beautifully. However, the computer isn't happy, and the reason for that is there's a sensor inside here. Now, I've already taken it out and I changed it, so I'm sorry about that. There's another video, I'll put a link below on how to change the sensor in there. But basically, there's this little encoder in there underneath. All right, we're back. We got interrupted there for a moment. Where was I? Oh yeah, so transfer case acting up, service four-wheel drive light keeps popping up. The four-wheel drive not real happy, switching in and out. Although when I stop the truck and I do the switches, I can hear the motor is working just fine. Like it's 4 low, 4 high, 2 high, etc. So I've traced it down to the encoder. So you don't have to replace the whole motor. That's quite an expensive fix. You can actually just replace the encoder in the motor. Okay, so the motor is here, there's a gear underneath here, and this encoder sits on that gear. Now if I can do this here, center of the encoder turns with the gear. Okay, you see that? And the outer part of the sensor is keyed into a notch in the case. So that sits like that. The gear turns around. The sensor, it basically picks up as a potentiometer off of these 3 pins. And so that's how the computer knows what gear your transfer case is in. If this piece is not, if there's an issue with this, which is common, the more I looked into it, this is really common for the fail. Then the computer is not happy, and it flips you the service wheel drive code, service four-wheel drive code. Okay, so I just replaced that piece in there. What I noticed is the new piece, the new style, this is all one piece and encased. And you see how that is? It's all molded in one piece. With the internal ring, it's sandwiched and glued in there. The new one is in 2 pieces and it's spring loaded. Okay, so there's a little bit more clearance between the two, and it's spring loaded as you put it in there. So I'm thinking that's a pretty good design improvement. On this old transfer case, it's an NP246. And the part number is right there. What's that? 889-623-15. I think it is. It's 15. It's the number on the bag here. AC Delco 889-623-15. It was $60 Canadian. A motor is well over 400. Okay. So that's the way to go. as long as you know that the motor is working. I've also got a new gasket that's going to go on when I put this back on the truck. And that's basically where I'm at. So I'm going to leave it there, and I'll put the link to the other fellow's video on when you have this apart, how to change it, but it's really quite straightforward. There's no rocket science to it. It's impossible to screw up the timing on it. Okay, you can see that the spline here that goes onto the transfer case, it's basically keyed. It's got one wide section here. There's no wrong way to put it on when you go to put it back on. So when you have this apart, don't be concerned about you know, where everything is, and ensuring you got the timing right, because it's all timed by that anyway, and by this notch in the encoder. Try to put it back at the same position as you take it out at, so that when you go to put it back on the transfer case, you're not fighting trying to shift the transfer case to line up with this. It'll should go back pretty close. Yeah, that's basically it. I'll leave it at that, folks. I hope you're all having a great day. This is the day after Groundhog Day, so I hope I'm not having to do this again tomorrow. Alrighty, bye-bye. Okay, now that we've got this sensor changed out in the motor, maybe let's see if we can figure out what's wrong with the original one here. So this should, it's either going to give, well, let's see, the transfer case has three positions, 2 high, 4 high, and 4 low. So we should either see a different resistance at certain positions if it was like a switch, or it'll act like a potentiometer, which is just basically increasing or decreasing resistance with the rotation of the shaft. So okay, so what are we sitting at here right now? We're sitting at 886 kilo ohms. Okay, let me see if I can get my finger in there properly. I'm turning, okay. All right, so yeah, just like a regular potentiometer. So it's working. So I don't know, maybe it's just when it gets really cold, it loses connection somewhere. Still turning. Oh, whoa, what happened there? Okay, so it come full circle, but obviously there's a complete dead band right there, which is probably correct. So, you know, at room temperature, well, hold on a second, there's probably 20 degrees there that there's nothing happening. Yeah. So for the most part it works, but there's a dead band right in this area. Yeah, see? That's probably where it's failing. Because there really isn't much rotation between, like on the actual shaft in the transfer case, there really isn't much rotation on that shaft when you go from 2 high to 4 high. Or at least initial engagement. So maybe that's what's happening, is the computer is not seeing that dead band right there. It's not happy. Anyway, there we go. It seems to mostly work. It has a dead band in here where nothing's happening, and then of course there's a big jump right there, which is probably just internally when it goes from high resistance to low resistance. That's that's the full turn. Yeah, so that's junk. the new one I tested before I put it in should be all right. And this job hopefully is done and good for another 10 years.